Welcome. My name is Jim Kello. Thanks so much for coming to New Tracks Meetup tonight. We really do appreciate it. Hope you'll enjoy the show. Hope you'll tell your friends about it, because the more, the merrier. If you're new to the show, I want you to register, please, at our website, newtracksmodeling.com. That's newtracksmodeling.com. When you go to the site, there's a place for you to subscribe to our show. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you subscribe, you'll get an email asking you to confirm that you did this and that you're confirming your email address is correct. And then immediately you'll start getting all of the emails for all of our future shows. It may take one show for you to start getting those emails, because it takes the computer a while to process that you want to get them, verify your email, and then put you on the email list. So to shorten that time period and to make sure that you, when you do sign up, you will get the email for the next show, send me a personal email and I'll send it to you for the next show. I'll respond to every one I get. My email is Jim, Jim, Kello, Kellow, numeric 1 at gmail.com. Jim, Kellow, numeric 1 at gmail.com. So that way you'll get emails on all of our future shows, and we hope you'll do that. To make sure that your friends are notified about it and at least have an opportunity to see if they'd like to join us and test whether we have a program that they're interested in, I'd like for you to send the email that I send you or the login link that you get to your friends. Not to post on Facebook or post anywhere else, because we're worried about security for our program. But if you have friends that you think might be interested, please send them the email link and let them join us on Zoom and see if they like the show, or if they'd like to, they're welcome to join us on YouTube and do it that way. There's also a comment form on our webpage, and I encourage you to fill it out and send in whatever your comments are. You like the show, you didn't like the show, why you didn't like the show, what you'd like to see on the show, things that we could do to improve the show, things you like, things you want more of, whatever your comments are. And those will come directly to me. And I guarantee you I'll answer every one. I really want to try to get more feedback on the show. It's the only way that we can improve the show, because I need to know what you're thinking. I need to know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see happen, how we can improve it so that it's of more benefit to you. We need help. Producing the shows, running the shows, we need help. We need all kinds of help. I don't care if it's 15 minutes a month. We need your help. So if you're interested in working with us, if you're interested in helping in any way, please let me know. My email is jimkello, numeric 1 at gmail.com. All you got to do is contact me. We'll talk on the telephone. We'll find out what your interests are, how we need help, things we need help in, and we'll go from there. We even have somebody that'll help train you to be able to do exactly what needs to be done, so that it's as easy as we can possibly make it for you and as much fun as enjoyable as we can possibly make it. But we need help. We desperately need help. The people that are producing the shows and doing the technical parts of the shows are just maxed out. We desperately need help. If you want the shows to continue, if you want the shows to keep getting better, we need your help. Please help us. Please let us know you will help us. Next, I'd like to talk about some of the future things that we've got going. We have really got some fantastic build-along sessions lined up. As you know, Bob Farquhar is doing one now with a Blair Line kit. Gaylord Gill, Randy Bosler are doing one now with a Bar Mills kit. Starting in less than a month now, May the 22nd, we have Rick and Maureen Hunter doing a 30-foot King Trust bridge from Hunter Line with a fantastic discount Not only do you get the kits, but you get 2 bottles of their weathering fluid. So it's a real opportunity. And I hope that you'll join us and participate with it. Bill Davis on the 2nd of June is going to start building a LaBelle passenger car, open platform baggage car. During that, and the numbers for that are HO3 if you're building an HO, or an O scale, it's 0352. Those are the 2 LaBelle kits, HO and O scale. And Rich Steele is giving a great deal. He's giving you a 25% off discount. He's going to give you, if you participate in his build along by building the kit, and then you show it in one of our buy bills, he's going to offer a raffle, and one person that shows their model is going to get a free kit from him of their choice. And that's not bad. Dave Rarick is going to build a kit starting July the 17th that Paul Eckert is going to design. It's an engine house. It's going to be free to download. The download will be on our website, newtracksmodeling.com. All you got to do is just download it, print it out. It'll be posted no later than the end of June to give you plenty of time to download it and print it. There's also going to be a scale chart on the page where you can download it in any scale you want. It'll be available in every one of the scales. Then we've got Martin Breckfield, MMR. He's going to be building a Leadville Designs kit starting September the 22nd. There's a great discount on it, and I think you're really going to enjoy that one. You're going to have, then we have Bill Davis doing a Steve Millie's rail scale model of his tobacco barn. That's going to be in October, and that's going to be in all of the scales. Motrack model, Build Along, is going to have 4 separate modelers. Clark Cooning, Bob Farquhar, Greg Cassidy, and Phil Edholm are going to be the modelers in N, HO, S, and O. 4 different scales. Same model, 4 different scales, starting October the 20th. There's a great discount on it. I really think that that's going to be something that you're really going to want to pay attention to, because you're going to be able to learn the difference in modeling techniques that are required if you build in the different scales. Banner Model is going to be the manufacturer kit of their warehouse. Clark Cooning is the builder. Starts December the 1st. Clark will be building it in HO, but it's also available in O scale. And then we have some others. We have Jim Murphy that's going to be building a LaBelle HO business car. Again, it's going to have a 25% discount from LaBelle. We have Chris Corse and Jeff Bonza that are going to be doing a model from Chris of a church. And they're going to also do the automation of it. The bell will ring, the doors will open, you'll see lights through the stained glass windows, you'll hear music. It'll be something to behold. And that, I think, is going to be really unusual, not to mention the fact that the builder is the manufacturer. Chris is going to build his own kit. We also have All Nations. All Nations is coming back, and they're going to do a My Build. In addition to being a featured modeler on one of our shows, because you really need to meet the person that bought All Nation from the Pope Foundation. And I think you'll really what he's doing and so forth. I think you'll really be interested to hear what he's doing and so forth. But he's also going to be part of a My Build. And I'm looking for an O-scale modeler who wants to build an all-nation kit, one that hasn't been on the market for a long, long time, one that you won't be able to find on the secondary market today, but it's coming back, and that's the kit that's going to be on the My Build. So if you're interested in doing that, please let me know. It'll be an O-scale modeler, and I need somebody to do that. That'll be late this fall. Then we've got the new segment of Watch My Build. You've got John Frank Forther doing a S-scale scratch-built bridge. And we also have Nick Santos that's going to do an AccuRail model build. We've got Clark Cooning that's going to do the Fast Tracks build for us. But we need more. We need more people to volunteer. This is something that is open to any skill level, and it doesn't even have to be a complete build if you don't want to. If you're working on something and would like to show us a part of the build and show us the techniques you're using, that's great. Just let me know. You have my email. So that's what we've got coming up. We've also got another new segment called Remember Old Kits. Charlie Rouse, MMR, is going to build one on the 14th of July. He starts. Martin Breckville is going to be one. I don't know what he's going to build or when he's going to start it, but I'll let you know. And if anybody else is interested in building one of the old kits, one of the ones that aren't on the market anymore, one of the ones that nobody remembers until you mention it, and then everybody says, oh yeah, I remember that. So if you're interested in doing that, please let me know, because I want to get more people involved that are doing that kind of a program for us. We're also going to start a section called Going to the Hobby Shop. We've got Anita Walker, who owns Central Coast Trains in California. And she'll be on our show June the 9th. And we have Nick's Trains that was also recommended by one of the modelers here that'll be doing it in August. I'm looking for other hobby shops that you would recommend that I call and talk to about building on the show, about being on the show. And if you have somebody, please let me know. Now, the next My Build is coming up May the 29th. And I'd like for Chris, who moderates all of that for us, to talk about that a little bit. Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Like Jim just said, the My Build is coming up. We're going to go over the builds for the Bar Mills 1 kit, which for all those that enter into the My Build, you'll be put in a pool so you can potentially win a $25 gift certificate to Good at Bar Mills for the one or for whatever you want to purchase from them. And we will also be doing the Blair Line General Store build along show and tell. So I'll throw my name in the chat, or you can just drop me a chat right now, and you can reserve a spot. One thing you can do that we were just talking about it recently that would really help out is if you send me an email with some pictures of what you want to do. And what I'll do is I'll compile it into a PowerPoint, and so we can go in order and go over each kit. And so I'll put it up on the screen, and then you talk to your photos and describe what you went through, and we can share the build that way. So anyway, my email is in the chat. Please give me drop me an email before the show at some point to announce that you have this kit that you want to show off. Thanks, Jim.
Mm-hmm. And I want to mention again about our website. We're going to have a special page on our website that you can go to about the My Builds. And Chris will be telling you about it and what it's all about, what we're hoping to accomplish by it, so forth. And there'll be pictures of the people that have been on the show for the My Build, what their models were. Hopefully we can even get some videos and relate that to you, where you can find out exactly what they had to say about the model that they built on the My Build. And I think that'll be kind of special too, to be able to see and hear what the modelers are really saying. So with all of that said, that's what's coming up. That's what you've got to look forward to that we can talk about right now. Now I'd like to turn to Paul Thompson for his quick tip of the evening. Paul, welcome.
Great, thank you, Jim. And I will just start. Hang on. Now, screen share is on. Okay, here we go. All right, at some of the shows that I was working at, I had people come up. Are we seeing this yet? There we go. I had people come up and ask me about wire and where to get it and what to do with it. And a lot of times the only thing that was ever available was number 10 or number 12 or 14. And if you're looking for minor wire, I just happened to throw this on. You're looking for smaller wire, the type of thing here that you can throw out. You can't see this all that well, but it's feeding down to track. And this is bell wire, which if you cut it up, I just showed that a minute ago. It's I'm getting this kind of out of sync, and I'm sorry about that, but let's go back. This is 3-pair 24 gauge wire, which is great for track feeders, not for long distance, but that's 6 inches down to your main cable. And when you pull this apart, you get 3 pairs of wires, blue, green, and orange, all with orange, white, green, white, blue, white. These are absolutely great. It's a cheap supply of things. I think I got this main package at Home Depot at one point, just a leftover that I managed to buy for next to nothing. And here you can see it goes along at the bottom of my module and just disappears up to the track. No sweat, nothing. But of course, it has to go to a much larger bus or whatever, because you can't go for long distances. But that's something that you could look at. You can instantly get really small gauge wire without major expense and without having to search all over the place, because usually this stuff is available at Home Depot or Lowe's or that kind of thing. And that's my tip for the night, guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Bo. I really appreciate you doing this for us. You really are, you're really becoming quite the character on the YouTube, because you're getting an awful lot of hits on YouTube. So thank you so much for doing this. Next is Martin Breckbill, MMR, who's going to talk to us again about his great scratch building capabilities. Martin, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Let's see if I can get my screen up here. There we go. Come on. Okay, so hope that's working.
Yes, sir.
Perfect, thank you. I need to hear a confirmation I'm actually alive and working. Otherwise, I don't know where I am. So last week, somebody asked me about more details on how I do those truss rods. So I backed up over myself, which was painful. I got out of the car and backed up over myself. But I built another car just to show how I do this in detail. So we're going to start at the very beginning of how I do these crazy things. There's our starting point. It's a pile of wood. There's the list of pieces. So I'm building an O scale, but I'm actually using HO lumber. I don't care what scale the lumber's in. If it measures out or feels right or looks right to be what I want to do, that's the right piece of wood for the job. So this is HO 12 by 22 and 10 by 22 for the frame of the flat. This is going to be a flat car, basically. You got dimensional lumber for needle beams, some brass wire. That came from Clover House. The resin bolsters are my own, which I cast. And they're not drilled and tapped for 440 yet in this picture, but that's what I normally do somewhere along the way before I mount them. Always good to drill and tap them before you put them into the car. It makes it a lot easier than drilling a hole through the car. And I decked this car. I pulled out, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I had some of this red cedar. It's O scale 2 by 10 in red cedar. And it actually does smell pretty good. I was surprised. It's older than, I don't know how old it is, but it still has a fairly decent aroma to it. So there's what you do. Basically, you're building a box. And, this is the 12 by 22 all the way around. This is 2 layers of the 2 by 10 red cedar, offset by the width of half the width of a board. So it's actually double decked to give it good strength. You can see it's not quite that straight some places. So actually double decking it helps a lot, unless you really want it to look kind of rough and rustic. In this case, I didn't really care one way or the other because I'm just building this car for demonstration purposes. Okay, I actually measured something. This is scary. You might want to take note. I measured something and I'm admitting to it. Got out the ruler. I found, this is important, the middle of the car. And these two marks right here happen to coincide with where the screws go for a KD coupler box. So thinking ahead, you're going to have to mount a coupler to this car somehow. So that's actually tells me where the two inner beams go, because then I can screw a coupler box to it. Not quite, this was like, I don't know, 29.5 millimeters or something like that. I actually measured it in millimeters. So these two beams go in first. I marked these after I've bent the brass wire. You drill a hole with, I drill it with a hand drill at an angle. Thread that through these two boards and glue them in, keeping all three pieces in alignment at the same time. And you only have two hands, so it makes it a lot of fun and an exciting moment, trying to get everything lined up on those two marks at each end and get this wire, which is flopping around all over the place at the same time. But it's doable. And this is the other two boards, the 10 by 22 right here on, and it just split the difference here on the spacing. Now here's where it gets fun. We get the bolsters in, we get the needle beams in, and I got all these red arrows. The red arrows are how the truss rods get threaded through. And I'm going to use number 0 silk, surgical silk, and we're going to go in one end, under the bolster, up over the needle beam, back down, under the bolster, out the end, up again, through the end, under again, up and over, down, under the bolster, out the back end, and up to the next space. Repeat process, repeat process. Is that totally confusing or not? I hope not. So here are the rest of the fiddly bits and bobs and the silk thread. Grant line, nut bolt washers, these are number 81s. They're down here. 10-inch queen posts, Grant line, number 70s. Turnbuckles from Tishi, number 2004, down here. Here's your silk thread on a nice wooden spool, size 0. I don't know what the code 8A-56 stands for, don't care. It's black, it's braided silk. You can't break this stuff. You try to break this between your hands, you're going to cut yourself down to the bone. It's virtually impossible to break. It's braided over another silk core. It's incredibly difficult stuff, strong. And these are just little Dixie cups, medicine style cups. I just cut them down to be about a ½ inch high. And I have about 10 or 15 of these in my shop at any given moment, just holding little parts and pieces so I can find them fast during a build. I pre-cut things. Another tip here, all of these are cut off the sprue with a very sharp bevel. That bevel makes it possible to go into the hole a lot easier. You cut it straight and flat, it's hard to push it through a hole. Cut it on a bevel, you can grab it, it'll slide into the hole a lot more smoothly. Okay, drilling holes. Number 35 drill for the 10-inch queen posts. You can see where they're located here, here, and here. Number 55 for the number 81 nut bolt washer casting. It's a pretty good sized drill. So I'm using a hand drill. I can use a hand drill here or my little tiny drill press or a Dremel. Doesn't matter here. Or even a pin vise. But, you know, I'm going to cut all these parts, again, cut from the sprue with a sharp bevel. It's actually pretty key to making things slide into a hole nice and smoothly. This is a small hand drill. I use it all the time, but then again, it's O-scale. I can get away with large tools. And here's how you start. Oh, okay, so first tip, this silk thread, all the way at the very end, other end of it. The first ½ inch of it, paint it with just a little bit of CA and let it dry. That'll keep it from fraying. That'll keep it nice and stiff. That'll make it something you can handle, passing it through the holes and not making a mess. So the other end went through here, all the way through underneath this bolster until I had about, I don't know, about three-quarters of an inch left over. And you grab a nut bolt washer casting with the tweezers, a drop of CA, and you push it in the hole right on top of, right next to the silk thread. And it usually goes through fairly easily. Now, point of caution, I probably should be using a slightly, the next size down drill. Probably should be using a 56 instead of 55, but that does make it a lot harder to put it in. There's a lot less free space there with that silk thread in the way. But you're counting on that to hold that silk thread right where you want it the whole time. And if you use a different size casting on the end, you're going to have to measure what that sprue bolt size is and tune the drill bit to the right size. So if it's smaller, you're going to need a smaller drill bit. If it's larger, you're going to need a larger drill bit. But you don't want to be more than a few thousandths off, because you really want to compress and hold this thread very tightly, because you're going to put it under tension. It's actually going to be under real tension. So first, we've come from the other end, gone back through, put two nut bolt and washers in. And as we came through, we put a turnbuckle on. Don't forget to put the turnbuckle on as you go through. They're no fun putting on later. Cutting apart a styrene turnbuckle and gluing it back together on the silk thread is doable. I've done it 3 times. I don't want to do it a 4th if I can help it. It's annoying. So this is second time we're going through. We've gone through one end. We've come back the second time through. Now we're going through the third time. You can see the pattern on the end. Another nut bolt washer casting holds it all through. And as you pull it through, that's over and under and over again and under again and out the back side. You're pulling it with a lot of tension, as much tension as you can put on it without cutting your hand with the silk thread. And while you're holding it under tension, you're slapping one of these nut bolt washers castings into that hole on a tweezer, holding it with a pair of tweezers with a drop of CA on it. So you only need 3 or 4 hands to do this, but I assure you it's completely doable. Okay, so third time through, we get the different pattern passage through. You can see the silk thread. It's been through 3 times. We're going through the 4th time. And if you come through the 4th time, you got a little leftover thread. And I actually probably put 20% extra thread, because extra thread beats not having enough thread 100% of the time. Too little, you can't fix it. Too much, you can always trim it off later. It won't hurt. So everything's anchored. We let it all the CA dry. This is what it looks like underneath. So we're in one side, under, over, under, out, back in, under, over, under, back out. Same process 4 times. Okay, so you could do this with 4 separate pieces of silk thread, but I don't think you can get anywhere near as much tension on it by pulling each one individually stiff and tight. So I'm actually pulling this through. So it's anchored here, but I'll go through 2 ends and pull it through the other end and pull it tight, 2 passages through, and then I'll add the nut bolt and washers 2 at a time. So I actually have this under a fair amount of tension. So the next step is, okay, so you center your turnbuckles, bring them into wherever they were. Usually they're all scattered all over the place, and put them somewhere in the middle, line them up where you want them. A little drop of CA on it holds them in place. After you've picked up the silk thread and dropped it onto the queen post cups very gently and carefully. It's not going to go anywhere after you do this. You can put CA here to hold it or not. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be very tight. It's going to be under real tension.
Hey, Martin, quick question. Where do you get the silk thread?
I get it out of the trash can where I used to work 20 years ago.
That's not helpful.
I know. You can actually buy silk suture thread on Amazon and on eBay. It's available. And actually, I've seen the exact same stuff I use, and it may seem like it's a lot of money, but I think there's 100 yards on a spool. 100 yards will build a lot of cars. I mean,
Now, what size, can you get the same size for HO?
well, the zero is pretty small, actually. But I don't think you can, I guess you can get a double zero or a triple zero. I've never seen it, but I've never looked for it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So you could use, but
Excuse me.
you could use like a carpet thread or something that's got some strength to it as well.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Brian, but will it be available in O gauge?
Well, that's what this is. So,
Oh, okay.
so we're available in O scale. It's available.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. So yeah. I work in O scale almost exclusively.
That's great.
So this is fairly straightforward in that sense. And actually, I actually have the number 1 and number 2 threaded. I've never used. I don't think I've ever used the number 2. I've used the number 1 occasionally, but I've kind of settled on the 0 for foreseeable future. And if you really, really, really want some, you can contact me and I'll send you a foot or 3. All you got to do is cover my postage. So that's what it looks like at the end. Final step, you get out your scalpel blade. I use a number 10 or a number 15. And just, you can see just a shred of black there. Here's the other one right here. And I'm just lining up right against the washer. Scalpel blade down, scalpel blade down. You can see it just touching the wood a little bit right there. It snips it right off. You might have to, a little CA might leach into it, but you may have to just lift underneath of it. It'll pop right off, nice and clean. So there's your end of your car, and you can do whatever you want with it from that point. You can move these around a little bit. You can add all kinds of other details. I usually space these out a little better so I can put a pair of grab irons in between them. Okay, so we're going to stop right there, but I'm going to, Jim raised an interesting point about old kits, and I have two old kits in front of me, and I don't know which one I'm going to do. I have a Traincraft. Well, I got to put my glasses on for this. Kit number 503. I believe that is some sort of caboose. When I say some sort, that's exactly what I mean. It'll be something odd and unusual, knowing it's a Traincraft kit. As near as I know, this one looks almost unopened until I just opened it, despite being probably 10 or 20 years older than me. The other kit I have on my desk here is one I just opened up. It's something I've never seen before. It's a Vans Car Shop O-gauge kit for an 1890 postal car. I have no idea if it's complete or not. And I don't know how much pain and suffering will be involved in building it, but I suspect that's what I'll be going with, just for the aggravation and irritation that comes with it. You know, it's O-scale. First, you have to suffer.
All right, so you're going to build then for that old kit building, remembering the old kits, you're going to build Van Car Shop's model of an 1890 postal car.
Yeah, I'll send you a note or 3. Well,
Okay.
give me a chance to confirm that it might actually all be there, or enough of it's there that it won't be totally heinous.
Well, you're going to be scratch building it probably anyway.
I hope not, but that'll be more fun anyhow.
So
Okay,
folks,
so anybody got any other questions while we're here? Got a lot of nothing. Okay.
So folks, what you got tonight was why these are so important to me personally, why I love to have Martin on, why I love to have these kind of segments on the show. What you got from Martin tonight was detail, not of just a scratch building another car, but you got an answer that a modeler in a previous show asked Martin when he was showing how he was scratch building another car. And what Martin did was try to go into great detail to try to give the modeler who asked the question, and all of us, more detail about how to do a specific task in scratch building. That's what this is all about. That's what we're hoping that's going to come out of it, that you want to learn the specifics, that you want to learn the techniques. And we have the people doing these segments, I believe, that are certainly qualified to teach them to you and to show you how to do them. Martin, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this specific technique for everybody. Thanks so much.
That's not a problem. And I see Greg's got a question about K-brake systems, so I may have to go back and I may have to save this car now and retrofit a K-brake system into it, working around the truss rods, which makes it even more fun.
Well, I'm sure you can do that. That's no big deal.
I know it can be done. It's just hard doing it the hard way.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up after you finished.
Exactly. I figured as much.
You do have your train line in there, don't you?
Yes, that makes it. Oh yeah. If you leave that out, you're really suffering.
All right. Next up is John Frankfurter. And John is an S-scale modeler all his life. And when we started this series, he was the first one to raise his hand. So he's our guinea pig in doing this one. But we hope we'll get a lot more people that are interested and that want to. This is a watch me build. John, thanks so much for doing it. Looking forward to doing it.
Okay. Okay, this is a recap from last week. This is scratch building for the beginner. If you're getting into model railroading and you don't know anything about it, and you've tried a few models, we'd love to have you come on the show and talk about what you've done. So a few things we talked about last week is where do you get the parts for your model, basic tools to start with, how to make measurements for your model, different types of glues for different type of materials, different scales to model in, what's the scale factor for your model, and an example for measuring scale measurements. We were at a train show last weekend, and as far as the tools go, I'm not sure if you can see this. It's called a finger light. Basically what it is a LED with a switch on it, 3 batteries. You tape it on, has an elastic band that you slip on your finger and allows you to work and have a little work light to see where you're working at. I sent Jim a link to one on that I found on the internet, which was $1.08, but by the time shipping, it was like over $6 or $7. So I think it's more, if you can find one at a train show or something, I think it's a nice little tool to help you along. So in building my bridge, this is a general look at my layout. This is not, it's something I found on the internet. I was looking for the quote ultimate layout to fit in my 15 by 24 foot garage. So if you look right here where the red lines are, this is a separate table from the rest of the layout. And this is where my bridge is going to go. I looked around on the internet quite a bit. I think I spent like a week or so looking for bridge designs and something I could find in a full-scale model. I really couldn't find anything. So I was on Thingiverse and I happened to see this arch bridge design. I kind of liked it. I don't have a 3D printer, and I didn't want to spend the time to learn how to 3D print. So I thought maybe I could get that. I could figure out how to make that from scratch to fit into the space I needed. So here's the picture of my I'm going to call it my gorge because that's what it's going to end up being. But I used 2-inch foam so that I could use it for, like to mount the bridge and stuff like that. So this is, ignore this right here. That's my other bridge design. But what I did here is give myself 2 inches of foam on each side of the bridge so that I could create pillars or whatever to mount the bridge. So I sat down in my CAD program. I knew that my space was 24 inches. And when I set up the 2 tables, I put bracing in there to make sure that 24 inches did not change. So once I got that all in there, I got my 2 inches of foam on each side. So I knew that I needed to have something that was 20 inches wide. So I sat down and I looked at the picture I found on Thingiverse. I figured out I would make the supports so that I would have the odd number in the middle because I wanted something special in the middle. So I put this information in my CAD and I just started drawing it out. Well, some of the measurements I took off of the model. Since I didn't have the physical model, I just used the picture I had to get an estimate of this distance right here and this distance out here. And when you're doing scratch building without any plans, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to kind of estimate what you think it's going to be and still make it look good to fit on your layout. Now, since I model in S-scale, it's really hard to find too much in S-scale that has the plans for it. Sure, you can buy models, but $7,500 or whatever, that's a little rich for me if I can actually make it. So I have this little 7-watt laser that I've been playing with. And so I used the design that I drew up on my CAD and I cut out the design. I used 3mm plywood because that's, with the 7-watt laser, that's about the maximum thickness I could cut without it turning into a pile of flames. If you notice on this picture here, I also put in gusset plates and rivets. And with the laser, I think that's pretty cool. So I think it took me like about 30 minutes to an hour or something to cut one of these out, just because it's only a 7-watt laser. So this is what it looks like when I got done cutting it out. And to me, I thought that was awesome. It looks like the gusset plates are right in there. The rivets are there. And so I was pretty excited. So I know it's kind of short tonight, but I have more design work to do. The next one, in the next session, I'll talk about how I designed the deck for the bridge, because that is totally separate. I'll go through the bridge assembly. I'll go through the paints I used, and we'll go through the finishing touches to the bridge and some of the things I added on as a sort of an afterthought that I thought that would give the bridge a little bit better detail. So if there's any questions, that's it for me.
Well, John, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Look forward to the next presentation from you. Thanks again. And now we'd like to introduce our featured modeler. I'm really looking forward to this. Chris Course recommended this lady, to come and talk with us, and I couldn't be more thrilled. I think this is really going to be interesting. I used to belong to this organization many years ago. This was at the time the golden rule of organizations that you had to belong to if you were a collector of model trains. And I was big time, and loved every minute that I was involved with this organization. I'm going to ask Chris to introduce this lady because without him, I would never have found her and wouldn't have thought about inviting her. I'm so happy that she's here tonight. And Chris, thank you so much for the recommendation and for making sure that we could get this done. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Jim. Being a purveyor of Strasbourg on occasion, because it's 45 minutes north of here, there's many businesses and things that I've come across, some of them by accident. And the National Toy Train Museum is up that way. And I figured that would be an interesting thing for our people to take a look at. So they are located in Ronks, Pennsylvania. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'll just turn it over to Tammy Hirsch. She, I believe, is their public relations director up there. Is that right, Tammy?
No, I'm actually the National Business Office Manager.
Okay, well,
We have a public relations and marketing committee that we use. I do some of the advertising here in-house, but we have committees that we rely on. So I want to thank you for inviting me. I am going to just do a short presentation and that I put together. And it's about the Train Collectors Association as well as the National Toy Train Museum and the library. So the Train Collectors Association owns and operates the museum and the library. We refer to it as TCA. So out in the train world, you may hear it as TCA. It was founded in Yardley, Pennsylvania in 1954. And the first meeting was held in the barn of Ed Alexander. This is actually the first group of train collectors that organized the TCA. The same year, there were collectors on the West Coast, and they met and organized the Western Division. And the result of these two meetings, the one on the West Coast and the one on the East Coast, formed the TCA. Today, we have 20 geographic divisions all across the United States and internationally, and 32 chapters within those divisions. In 1957, the TCA was incorporated as a nonprofit corporation in the state of Pennsylvania. The TCA is a membership-based organization, and currently we have about 19,000 active members worldwide. The TCA holds an annual convention hosted by a different division in a different geographic location every year. But last year, for the first time since 1955, we had to cancel the convention due to COVID, which was kind of disappointing. But this year we're going to try it. We're going to modify it a little bit. It's usually the last week in June, but it's going to be held in Burbank, California, and we've moved it to the end, to the 18th of August. And one of the reasons we did that is because we kind of ran out of time to get it all planned for the end of June. And it's typically from Saturday to Saturday. This year we shortened it up because we're not quite sure how many people want to travel and that kind of thing. So we're going to try it just so we have something that our members can do, because they really like to attend the conventions here that we have. So if you're interested, you can go to the website I have listed here, tcaconvention.org. We have all the information, and our registration opens in 2 weeks. So the Toy Train Museum is located in Strasbourg. Our physical address is Ronks, but we are part of the Strasbourg community. And our museum is designed to look like a Victorian era train station, which on the right-hand side of your screen, that's a model that was created several years ago. of the front of the museum. So that's what the front of our museum actually looks like. And it's home to what we believe is the world's largest collection of toy and model trains. We have about 25,000 pieces dating back to the early 1800s, with about 4,000 pieces currently on display in the museum. We collect and preserve and exhibit toy trains and accessories. And the displays include rare, unusual, and specialty trains and accessories from over 100 different manufacturers. We have 7 interacting layouts in the museum, all scales, O, S, H, O, G, standard, and we even have a Lego layout. Everything is made of Legos, the trains, the tracks, the buildings, everything. And we also have a replica of a 1928 store layout. So here are just a couple of pictures of the layouts. Here's the Lego layout. We actually have a Lego group that I think is organized out of Baltimore. And they come up and built this layout for us and got it all running. Here is our O gauge. This is actually the Department 56 side of it. There's a little trolley that runs through there. But then in the back of this, you can see the mountains. There's a couple of loops that go around the mountains. Here's our S gauge layout. We have a group of gentlemen from New Jersey. I call them our S gaugers. They come up here every January and they totally maintain this S gauge layout. So they deserve a lot of credit for this. The trains on the back walls are also, some of them are also owned by the S gaugers that come up. Here's our standard gauge layout. Here's our G gauge layout. And then our little HO layout. Here's the display of the 1928 store display. This layout was actually donated to us. We have some of the most interesting and unique items in the toy train world, and I just have a few of them I'd like to share with you so you can see exactly some of the rare things that we have. We have a Markland Wonder Wheel. This is one of 3 that were shipped to the United States. And they used these in the 1950s in dealer, like in the storefronts and in dealers' stores to advertise for Markland. This gigantic wheel is rotated by a tiny engine CM 800, which is it powers this whole thing. There's no electric to it. It's like a friction thing, I think. I'm not a real train person, so I just have to learn as I go along. The current value of this is $17,000. It's one of the most expensive pieces that we have in our collection. This is the oldest train that we have in the museum currently. It is a Milton Bradley passenger set. It's wooden and it's covered with Bradley's graphic lithography, Grand Excursion train to Rocky Mountains in California. It was manufactured in 1880, and this is on display as well. Here's a couple of other old pieces that we have. The Lionel Mickey Mouse hand cart. In 1900, Joshua Lionel Cohen founded the Lionel Manufacturing Company, and in 1918, the company was renamed the Lionel Corporation. By the 30s, the company became the forefront runner of toy train production. The Great Depression took a really big toll on the company, and in 1934, they went into receivership to avoid bankruptcy. This Mickey Mouse hand car was produced to save the company, and it was selling for $1. And within 4 months, they sold over 253,000 of these hand cars. And by that December, they were totally out of debt because of the sale of this car. So Lionel actually saved Disney from going bankrupt. Here's another interesting Mickey Mouse car that we have. This is the circus train from 1935. I had to do it in 2 different pieces because I was trying to take it through the display cabinet and it wasn't working out too well. But it's an engine, a tender, a diner car, a band car, and an animal car. And they're all detailed. It has a battery powered headlight. It came with a cardboard tent and tickets, which are seldom found today. And it was sold in 1935. And this is a not cataloged item from Lionel. So it increases the value of it. And then in 2018, we were invited by Stout Auctions to come out and to Indiana and preview their collection of the Lionel archives that they were asked to auction off for Lionel. So we went and we acquired, I think, about 17 pieces, and we created a display here in the museum for the Lionel archives. One of these items is this top one right here. It's kind of hard to see, but this is the Lionel New York City and HRR number 5 standard gauge tender, and that is the original box that it came in. And then we have a Hudson. We have a 1937 Hudson. This came to us in an estate that we were named in a will. And if you know anything about toy trains, this, as I understand it, is one of the best pieces available and one of the most sought out pieces for O-gauge collectors. The owner of this Hudson stated that it was purchased at Yeatman's hardware store in Clarendon, Virginia, in 1938. This piece actually has the tissue that the train was wrapped in, the inside boxes, and then the outside boxes, well, the original Lionel boxes. So this is a pretty highly sought out piece that we have on display. And then we have the library. We have a unique collection of information on the history and characteristics of toy trains in the United States and elsewhere. We are a research, not a lending library. So we have over 500,000 library items, paper, catalogs, research books, instruction books, guides, auction lists, anything you can think of, catalogs, advertising, postcards, a whole wide variety of library items. We also, our library is also the house of the Train Collectors Association archive material, and it has original information dating back to when it was founded in 1954. And then I had asked our librarian to give me some of the most interesting and unique items that are in the library collection. And she gave me a few. This is one of the oldest items in the library's collection. It's an 1877 Strasburger Playfair and Company catalog. So this company was known for having one of the best selections of quality toys and window displays in New York during the holiday season. So there were toys, trains listed in this 1877 catalog. Another thing that we have a lot of are American and world manufacturers. We have a very large collection of catalogs and other related paper from a wide range of American and world manufacturers. 3 examples from our collection is the 1898 Carlisle and Finch catalog, which is this one over here, a 1930 Markland catalog down here, and then the spring 1946 Lionel Advanced catalog. And then we have a Hafner Scrapbook. This is one of the most valuable and one-of-a-kind items that we have in our library. It's very fragile. Most of the time, if they need to reference it, it's done off of photocopies from the scrapbook because it is so rare and it is so fragile. But this is an example of a 1940 advertisement for a Hafner train that was you can purchase through Gimbel's department store. And then we also have a paper train collection in our library. And as you can see, these are pretty rare. They used to be on cereal boxes. And then this train down here, this paper train down here was actually created by some of our members and is in our collection. Every year, the library and its committee does an exhibit in the museum. They have a specific window that they are allowed to, or that they put a display. This year, it's Frank Ellison and the Delta Lines. So it's a nice display. It gives our museum guests a chance to see what we have in the library. And then we also have some famous members that have been members of the Train Collectors Association in the past. And I just thought I'd share a couple of these with you because I think it's kind of interesting of who they were. So the first one was Ward Kimball. Ward was an animator for the Walt Disney Company. And he actually is the designer and the creator of Jiminy Cricket. That's where he got his notoriety and fame, so to speak. And he also helped inspire Walt Disney to install the Disneyland Railroad. And Mr. Kimball had a passion for collecting toy trains and had a significant collection at the time of his death. Mandy Patinkin, he's just an American actor and singer, and he was starred in Evita and the Chicago Hope. He was a train collector from the 90s and remained a member until 2002. I think the next couple you'll really find interesting. Frank Sinatra was a big member of the Train Collectors Association, and he had a huge collection. This is actually a photo down here of his actual layout that he had. He was a member starting in 1983 and until the time of his death in 1998. He actually was born in Hoboken, New Jersey, where he started his interest in toy trains in the 20s. And he would make a trip to Manhattan whenever he had the opportunity to look at the displays in the holiday, in the stores at the holidays. He was known to stroll around the Lionel factory with Joshua Lionel Cohen and pick the latest Lionel offerings to add to his growing collection. He collected trains from almost every major manufacturer, and the value of his collection eventually exceeded over $1 million. And then Neil Young. Neil was an avid train collector starting in 1979 until 2007. He became interested because his two sons have cerebral palsy, and he thought it would be good for them to interact. He once was a part owner of the Lionel train. He has since sold his entire collection to benefit the Bridge School in San Francisco, which is for disabled children. And Neil Young could often be seen walking around the train meet that TCA had at York. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I will invite you to visit our websites. All of our contact information is on there, and I would be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
Tammy, do you have to be a TCA member to come to the museum?
No, you do not. If you're a TCA member, you can get in for free. Otherwise, you can pay an admission price.
Okay. Do you have to be a TCA member to use your library?
No, everything here is open to the public.
How do you use your library? How would I go about using your library? I would call up and say, I'm interested in this. Do you have somebody that then works with me or helps me, or how would that work?
Yes, we have a librarian that has a master's degree, and we also have a library assistant on staff here. They're both full-time employees, and they can do research for you either online or via email, over telephone, or if you want to come up, you're more than welcome to talk to them about that and set up a time, because the museum's only open on weekends right now until Memorial Day. Then we're open 7 days a week. So you could visit during the week, but I recommend that you call the library and try and schedule something with them. But you're allowed to use all of the materials in the library. You just can't take them out of the library. We don't sign anything out.
So digitally, your librarian could make copies for me or
Yep.
what?
Yeah,
Yep.
we charge a small nominal fee to make photocopies and to research. If it is over a half hour worth of research, then we charge a small fee for that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, we do offer, as long as everything's within the copyright rules and laws, they'll make you copies of whatever you would like. They help write, they help research and write a lot of books for with Bruce Greenberg. And they also help Roger Karp with Classic Toy Trains. He's writing another book right now, and they do a lot of the research for those individuals as well.
Do the train model, the railroads the layouts that you have, are they operational? Do you operate those for people or
No.
static?
Nope, they're all interactive. We have operating, all the trains are operating, as well as a lot of the accessories on the layouts. So we have push buttons. So when you go through, you can push it, it starts the train, you push it, it starts the firehouse. Everything is operated by push buttons. We're trying to transition everything over so it's on it more automated with motion sensors, that you really don't have to push the buttons to operate the trains. Everything will just be automatic when you walk by it.
So the TCA, do they have, are you just Lionel and Hafner and Ives and American Flyer, or are you also getting scale model railroaders also to participate in the TCA?
We are getting more model railroaders. We're getting more scale collectors. We're getting more operators. We are actually in the process of redeveloping our entire website, and that's one of the marketing tactics that we're going to use. It's to gain a greater audience, that we're not just for collectors, that we're for all kinds of trained people, hobbyists, collectors, modelers, anybody that is interested in anything that has to do with toy trains.
When I was a Lionel collector, the TCA was the gold standard. If you were a Lionel collector, you needed to belong to the TCA. That was the gold standard of all the organizations that were out there at the time. And it used to take, I forget now, I think I know it was at least 2, it may have been 3 people that had to verify that I was worthy of becoming a TCA member. You had to be recommended by that number of people, and then the TCA decided whether the membership wanted you as a member. And that was part of the organization's gold standard status when I was a member, because you were confident that if you did business with another TCA member, it was going to be a satisfactory business relationship. You had nothing to worry about. You weren't going to be taken. They weren't trying to take you. This was an up and up kind of a person you were dealing with. Now I understand that's no longer true, that it's kind of open to the world. Is that a problem for TCA these days?
No, I don't think it's a problem. The first year you're a member, you're actually in a probationary period. So we kind of keep track of if you're doing any shenanigans with selling and buying, that kind of thing. We keep a close watch on it. We do have a very, very good and very thorough membership complaint department, where all of our members know that they have to live up to those standards that we expect them to. And if they don't, and we get a complaint about it, I have an entire committee that reviews the complaint, and then we bring it to the board if we have to, and then the ramifications come out of that. Very often, or not very often that we have to do that. Most of our train collectors are honest people. Every now and again, you'll hear of something along the line or in the wind about, something happening, but for the most part, we don't see a whole lot of that.
Has the TCA considered using their reputation for being a gold standard organization to in effect act as a better business bureau for small manufacturers?
I'm not really sure, but that sounds like a good idea to me.
It does to me too, because it would certainly give the small manufacturers, I think, an advantage in the marketplace. Because as I remember, you don't know who you're dealing with in a lot of cases. You never have met them.
Mhm.
I think that this might help them get their organization recognized and so forth, and might be something the TCA ought to consider.
Yes, that's a very good idea. Very good suggestion.
So I'm a scale model railroader. I stopped collecting Lionel when I lost my basement and had to downsize. So now I'm just a scale model railroader. I scratch build a lot of my stuff. What's the TCA offer me? Why should I join the TCA?
Well, we have, you can form a lot of friendships. That's one thing a lot of our TCA members really value. We have, publications where you can buy and sell. You can, actually use our library for free then for a lot more services than what you could from a public standpoint. We have events, we have some member exclusive train meets. So if you're a TCA member, you can take advantage of going to member only things. Or if it's a TCA meet that is open to the public, the first hour of every meet is for members only before the public comes in. So you get advantages that way. You could do a lot of, like I said, a lot of research in our library to get information that you need. Plus you could come here and visit me for nothing.
There you go. Well, if somebody else has questions, I don't want to monopolize this, but does somebody else have some questions for Tammy?
Yeah, I have a question. What about manufacturing? It's like sort of like behind the scenes of how the toys were actually made, or is that something that's not really, that was never really documented?
They probably have documents in the library because we do actually accept or acquire toy catalogs and toy magazines as well. If you think about it this way, like anything that could be on a layout, people, cars, buildings, anything on a layout is kind of considered a toy as well. We also have information in our library on those things as well. Like Tootsie toys and that kind of thing, Dinky toys, whatever they're called. We have a lot of that information as well in our library. And we're actually always looking for people to volunteer to be on our library and museum committees. They're two of the most important committees in the Train Collectors Association. Because this is a membership-driven organization, we rely on donations and volunteer time to help us maintain and operate this building. So we're always looking for new members for our museum and library committees to help us with projects. There's always something that needs done on the layouts, whether it's re-landscaping, fixing accessories, rewiring trains, retracking it, fixing engines, whatever the case may be. We're always looking for people with those skill sets to come on board and help us out, even if it's once a month or once every 2 months. It doesn't have to be a consistent every week thing, but we're always looking for people to help us out in that way, because it's hard to find people that that have those skill sets that want to volunteer their time.
Yeah, right now I'm looking for work and all that, and most of my skill set requires me to be at the location. And so, that I live in Vermont, so it's like I can't really, go for a job that's in California because that's a long commute.
Right, exactly.
But I know for myself, there's a sort of kind of looking for like I want to say I'm not sure if this is the correct terminology, but like the sort of like the tin plate aesthetic, where it's sort of like, I think it's enameled on the sides. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, I don't know. The library could probably help you out, Ed, and they would be glad to do that. Like I said, I'm not a trained person. I came here in 2014 and I was an administrative assistant, and the operations manager retired, and because of my previous skill sets that I was offered the position, that's why I'm in this position now. But I know nothing about trains. Like whatever I know about trains, I've learned since I came here. And so now I tell everybody, I think I can have a somewhat intelligent conversation about it, but I'm not knowledgeable at all. So all my people that I work with know that, and that's one of the things that I don't claim to know. But they would be able to tell you, they would be able to research that for you and give you any of the information that you needed.
Okay, so you're someone that you can give a tour of the place and all that, but if somebody asks a question like I just did, you're like, oh no.
Exactly. Now I know that there's a couple of my people on this Zoom call. Bob Lebonsky was on the Zoom call, and he is actually our museum committee chair. Jim Potts is actually our current president of the TCA and also our library committee chair. Stuart Rankin was on. I don't know if he's still on. He is our incoming president. He's our president-elect. He will take office July 1st when Jim is finished. And Jay Shao is our vice president, so he will be moving up to president-elect. And I also think I saw Katie Elgar on the call. She's our current national treasurer. And there may have been a couple other board members on the call. Dan Glover, I think I saw Rupert Campbell were on here as well. So they're the guys that you need for your knowledge. Like they can give you any of the knowledge. Jim Potts is avid paper collector as well as trains. So Jim can pretty much tell you anything you wanted to know about the library side. Bob Lebonsky collects, I think, post-war. I'm not sure, but I think. So he can tell you anything about that. You know what I mean? So those are the guys I rely on. I rely heavily on our library staff, our museum staff, to give me the information that I need to be able to do something like this.
Well,
Tam,
Yeah.
with the people who are from the TCA, if they want to introduce themselves, they can go right ahead. You're just making sure you unmute first.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Jim Potts. I'm president of TCA this current year. Our library committee meets monthly. I'm also chairman of that committee, and we try our best to improve what we have in the library constantly. That means more original material. We're currently rebuilding our website to make it more user-friendly so that you can access things on our library through the website. That's one of our big goals currently that we're working on. The reference library is for everybody, but members get more special privileges, obviously, can access more than a non-member. The research, if you call in or email into the librarian, if she can't answer a question, she has a large list of contact people, members like myself, that she instantly contacts to dig out the information, things that only collectors would know by working with these old antique trains. And then she excellent at digging the information out of the material that's actually in the library. Our goal is to have one original copy, hard copy of everything to do with old manufacturing of American and European and all foreign toy trains primarily. We are getting into more scale modeling. More and more of our members are scale modelers. Scale model material shows up at our shows. Our largest show held in York, Pennsylvania, twice a year, has a large number of new material offered for sale from scale modelers and people who build replicas of older tin plate and toy trains. So it would be a good fit for a scale modeler to at least check us out and see what we have to offer at our shows primarily, and then at our library also. Besides visiting the museum if you get to Stratford, Pennsylvania. Okay.
All right, thank you, Jim.
I'd like to say thank you tonight for having the TCA on here. Jim, Edward, Chris, I think it's outstanding to have such a diverse group of people on this call here tonight. Jim, I do just want to touch on one thing that you asked earlier as a scale modeler, and you just heard Jim mention scale modelers are growing within TCA. With your second to none resume of talents, you still probably learn new things from your circle of friends. Imagine if your circle of friends grew by 19,000 new friends. Imagine all the new things you could learn. So Tammy did touch on the camaraderie. I also want to second that. Having 19,000 new friends is a great reason to be a member of TCA again. Again, thank you so much for having TCA on here tonight. Truly appreciate it. I believe Jay Shao, our current vice president and next president-elect, is also with us tonight.
Let me interrupt you just a minute before the next gentleman talks. And since I've got the current president on here with Tammy, I appreciate your comments. You're exactly right. I learn new stuff every day. The reason I love to do these shows is to have a diversity of viewpoints and so forth. That's why I belong to so many of the Facebook Lionel and American Flyer groups, and still have my toe in that world, even though I'm not able to collect anymore. I just don't have the space down here in Florida. What I would like to propose for you is I'd like to do a regular segment. I'd like to offer the TCA the opportunity to host that with me. And I'd like to be able to talk about the history of model railroading in it. As you heard me talk a few minutes ago, I have a segment I'm starting about remembering the old kits, where we actually have modelers come on and build from the old kits the way we used to have to build back in the 50s and 40s. And it's a totally different world from the way it was then as you build today. Primarily the people on this show are scale modelers, although we do have collectors on the show. And I encourage that. That's why I post the stuff like I did for Tammy on the Lionel Facebook pages. And that's why I'm encouraging you all to consider hosting a history part on my show on a regular basis. And that can be a month or however many times you'd like to do it, and who you would have do that or who you'd like to coordinate that through. That's fine. I'll work with you any way that we can. But I do think that the history of our hobby is something that's overlooked and not talked about. And bringing the history back to life, not just talking about the paper part of it, but actually being able to show some of the stuff that was made back in that time period, and what a model railroader was having to go through. And I think that's a valuable lesson, and I'd love to be able to have a segment on my show with you all being providing the people for it, and it can be a TCA part of it as far as I'm concerned. If you would like to consider that, Tammy has my email. She can get in touch with me and let me know who to talk to or how to proceed with that. But I'd be most pleased if the TCA would consider it. Excuse me, go ahead.
Thank you, Jim.
We would be happy to do that, Jim.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Just send me an email when you can, and maybe we can talk by phone.
Okay.
My phone number is on the website. So you can, if you go to our website, my phone is listed there, and it's a cell number. So just give me a call, and anytime but I would really am serious. I'd really like to start this. Tammy, I sent you an email about it a little bit ago, and I'm really serious. I think it could be valuable information to have, how to present it, what to include in it. I need your guidance because you are the historian part of this right now for me. So I would need a lot of guidance and help trying to structure it, who to have on it, when to do it, that kind of thing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim, you gave us a quick introduction of the TCA with your group. We certainly appreciate you doing what you did. By quick count, I've got 11 of the officers, 4 past presidents, a couple of 3 committee chairmen and board members on this thing tonight. So you have certainly got our attention. Thank you again.
Well, I hope they come back. I hope they come back one more time. I hope we haven't steered them off too badly tonight.
I'd like to say that I've been a TCA member since 2015, and I was happy with the Rio Grande chapter, and I was fortunate to help out in 2019 with the TCA National Convention that was held here. So I really appreciate what the TCA is doing. Thank you.
Jay, did you want to introduce yourself to these guys?
Yeah, I'm Jay Shao, the vice president, current vice president, recently elected president-elect. So when Stu becomes president, I'll be taking over his slot. I want to just mention that we have some really terrific people who speak regularly on the history of toy trains. John DeSantis, Jim Burke, Wayne Sheriff, Joe, I think Joe Fanara has done some of that, and we've got a bunch of people. We've also got on this particular call, Bob Lebonsky, who is our the chairman of our museum committee. And I think Bob might have a few words to add about the museum. He's done a remarkable, he and his committee have done a remarkable job on putting together some terrific displays in the Bronx Museum. So maybe Bob could follow me and put in a few words.
You're still on.
Okay, yeah, I'm Bob Lebonsky. I don't know how to, there you go. Yeah, our entire museum is maintained by free labor. So if anybody has any time, we're always looking for some help out there, especially on the layouts, which would be something that I'm sure, a lot of you guys that had access to Strasbourg, would enjoy doing. We're always improving. And our major work takes place between January and April when we close the museum. That's when if we're going to do anything major, it comes apart. I mean, we've had that place that looks like an explosive device went off in there, and in a few months it goes back together again. And as Tammy had mentioned and Jim Potts had mentioned about our new website, we're trying to appeal to anybody that has any interest in any kind of train other than a real train. And recently we acquired from a donation about a 400-pound live steamer that we now have on display on its own iron trestle. And like I said, we're trying to, attract and bring in as members anybody that wants to play with any kind of train. And as soon as you walk into our museum, this 400-pound, 6-foot, 7-foot long thing is sitting there showing, what we're trying to do. But we have every scale running, down to HO and up to G gauge. And as Tammy said, they're all interactive. And right now we've been incorporating a lot of microcomputers on there. So a lot of things take place simultaneously, when you push a button. And we have a pretty good time. We work for food, basically. We come out, we work all day, we have lunch and go home. So, yeah, we're always available. If you just contact our museum manager, basically, Melody Rogers, you can just get a hold of her, if you have any interest in coming in and give us a hand. She's there full time. And she'll show you, you know, what needs to be done. We have a full shop in there where we're maintaining rolling stock, engines, and so forth. But we have a pretty good time. We have a good crew that comes out there. We've been a little hampered this past couple of off seasons. You know, people kind of antsy to come out of the house, you know, due to the virus. But, you know, it started opening up a little bit this year. But yeah, we welcome anybody to come in and give us a hand, and especially give us some ideas of things that we might want to look at to implement. When I first got involved with this, Tammy suggested the Lego layout, and that's one of the most interesting pieces we have there. Because the kids come in, they know exactly what this is, and it kind of like sparks their interest. Now, what kind of an issue their family has when this kid goes home, I don't know. That's really not our problem, you know, whether they have to go out and buy a new set. But that really made a big hit with them. And then Tammy decided we needed to have sunsets over each layout. So we built an automated system in my shop and took it up. So now we have a slow sunset on each layout, you know, and it walks around the room, and you have to decide whether it's your eyes or something's really taking place here. And then you finally figure out that, yeah, it just went dark, and, you know, the town's lit up, and it's been working out pretty well. But yeah, any ideas like that, you know, we really look forward to getting from people, and then we try to figure out how to implement them. So like I said, you know, if anybody has any interest in giving us a hand, you know, like, you're more than welcome. And you're also more than welcome to join. Thanks for having us.
Well, I'll make another offer to the organization, see if you guys are interested and really how interested in scale you are. I have a featured modeler every night on my shows. I do these twice a week, Wednesday and Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Been doing them for a little bit over a year now, believe it or not. If you have modelers that would like to be on my show as a featured modeler, then have them contact me. Particularly, I'm interested in Lionel operators, American Flyer operators that operate scale-like model railroads, except with 10-plate trains. I'd love to get some of those people on the show. I'd love to be able to show their modeling. I'd love for them to be able to talk about their model railroads and the scales that they are involved in. I write articles for 2 online publications. One of them is S-Scale, which would be American Flyer. Other is O-Scale, which would certainly be Lionel. I'd love to do a separate article on the modelers in O-Scale, Lionel, or in S-Scale, American Flyer, who are operating in a scale-like manner. I'd love to do nothing but an article and profile people. If it takes an article that's 20, 30, 40 pages long, that's no big deal for me. But I'd really like to do that. I'd like to focus on the relationship between part scale and part template in both articles, and I'd like to bring that relationship to my show. So if the TCA has members that would like to work with us to do that, my email is Jim Kellow, JimKellow, numeric 1 @gmail.com. And my phone number, like I say, is on the webpage. So if you're interested, your members are interested, please contact me and let's see what we can put together.
I think, Jim, what I will do is I will contact you, and you and I together can write something up as to what you want or what you're interested in. And then I can include it in our publication. I can include it in our e-blast. We can put an announcement on our website that you're looking for these kind of people. And I think we can try and find some people for you. So I'll work with you we'll come up with some kind of description, you and I, and then we'll get that taken care of.
because I think you had a nice answer when I asked you the question of why should a scale modeler join your organization. I thought your answer was good, because having been a TCA member, I know the value of that first hour getting into the local show before the general public, because that's when all the goodies were gone. I understand exactly what you're saying about the value of the organization. So anybody else have anything for Tammy or the TCA in general? Well, Tammy, you and your officers and directors, I thank you all so much for being here this evening. And I've got to hand it again to Chris Gorse, because he's the one that started me down this path, for good or bad. And Chris, I really do appreciate it. I think Tammy has been a fantastic guest, as have the other people in the TCA. And I can't thank everybody enough for being here this evening with us and sharing the TCA story with us. Thank you so much, Tammy.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And we'll be in contact.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, folks, our next Zoom meeting is Saturday, May the 8th. We're not going to have a featured modeler. We're going to have featured segments. Bob Farquhar is going to do one of his build-alongs with the Blair Line kit. Gaylord Gill and Randy Boston are doing a build-along with a Bar Mills kit, the one kit, almost like scratch building. Dave Silvernail is going to do scenery, building rocks and weathering them. And I think it's going to be a fantastic show. So I hope you join us. I thank you so much for coming. I hope you really enjoyed tonight. Hope you enjoyed hearing about the TCA, an organization that many of you probably have never considered, but I hope you do now. And I hope you learned something, most important. Please give me your comments and suggestions by going to the website and filling out the form. Did you like the show, not like the show, want some changes to the show, have some people you'd like to see on the show? Whatever the comment is, I'd love to get them. Thank you so much for being here.